2 weeks after my triple bypass surgery, my daughter blocked my number. I stood outside Vancouver General Hospital with a walker, no ride home, and exactly $47 in my wallet. The taxi to Surrey would cost $80. I was about to call a shelter when my cardiac surgeon, Dr. Patricia Morrison, walked past me to the parking lot, stopped, and turned around. "William Hartley," she said, squinting at me in the gray October rain. I nodded, gripping the walker tighter as a wave of dizziness hit me. "You probably don't remember me," she said, walking closer. "But I remember you. March 1989. I was a first-year medical student at UBC. You were the janitor who found me crying in the anatomy lab at 2 a.m. My mind went blank. 1989. That was 36 years ago. I'd worked nights at the university for nearly 20 years, mopping floors, emptying trash cans, barely making rent for the basement suite I shared with my wife and baby daughter. I cleaned a lot of labs," I said carefully. "Doctor," Morrison smiled, but her eyes were wet. "You gave me an envelope. Inside was $300 and a note that said, 'Sometimes the hardest part isn't the studying. It's believing you deserve to be here. You do. Keep going.' You had no idea how much I needed that." I remembered then, a young woman, maybe 22, sobbing over a cadaver with textbooks scattered everywhere. Her hands had been shaking so badly she couldn't turn the pages. I'd recognized that kind of crying. Not frustration, desperation. The $300 was everything I'd saved for 3 months. My wife Linda had been furious when she found out. We'd fought for 2 days. She said I chose a stranger over our daughter's winter coat. She wasn't wrong. But something about that girl's face reminded me of my own mother, who'd cleaned houses her whole life and died, believing she wasn't smart enough for anything else. "I'm sorry," I said, feeling the cold rain soak through my hospital gown under my coat. "I don't mean to be rude, but I need to figure out how to get home." Dr. Morrison pulled out her phone. "Where's your family? Who's picking you up?" I looked at the wet pavement. "My daughter." "We're not speaking right now." "Why not?" "It's complicated." "Mr. Hartley," she said, her voice shifting into that doctor tone, "you just had major surgery. You can't walk properly. You need help for at least 6 weeks. If you don't have support at home, I can't discharge you." "You already discharged me," I pointed out. "Then I'm undischarging you." She pulled out her phone and made a call. "Marion, it's Patricia. I need a readmit on bed 412. No, not a medical issue. Social issue. Patient has no home support post-bypass." "Yes, I know it's Friday. I don't care. I'm the attending, and I'm not sending a 67-year-old man with a fresh sternotomy to walk 40 kilometers in the rain." She hung up and looked at me. "You're coming home with me." "What?" "I have a guest house. 2 bedrooms, full kitchen, wheelchair accessible. My daughter moved out last year, and it's been empty. You'll stay there until you can manage on your own, or until your daughter comes to her senses, whichever happens first." "I can't." "Yes, you can," Dr. Morrison said firmly. 36 years ago, you gave me $300 you couldn't afford to give. You changed my life. Let me return the favor. The guest house was in Kerrisdale, in a neighborhood where houses cost $4 million and had gates. Dr. Morrison's property had a main house, a swimming pool I could see through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and a separate cottage at the back of the garden that was bigger than any apartment I'd ever lived in. "I'll get you settled," she said, helping me out of her Mercedes. "My housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, will check on you daily. Meals will be brought over. There's a medical alert button in every room. If you need anything, you press it." I stood in the middle of the guest house living room, staring at the leather furniture, the gas fireplace, the kitchen with marble countertops. "This is too much," I said. "It's barely anything," Dr. Morrison replied. "You gave me everything when you had nothing. The least I can do is give you something when I have everything." That night, lying in a bed with sheets that probably cost more than my monthly disability check, I thought about my daughter, Rachel. She was 37 years old now. A pharmaceutical sales rep, made good money, married to a man named Brett who worked in commercial real estate. They lived in a new development in Langley with their 2 kids, Emma and Jacob, ages 8 and 6. I hadn't seen my grandchildren in 14 months. It started after Linda died 3 years ago. cancer. I'd fallen apart. Rachel had tried to help at first, but I'd pushed her away, told her I didn't need anything, that I was fine. I wasn't fine. I drank too much, stopped answering calls, missed Emma's 7th birthday party because I couldn't get out of bed. Rachel had eventually stopped trying, and I'd let her. When I'd gone into the hospital for surgery 2 weeks ago, I'd called her from pre-op. She'd answered but said she couldn't talk. She was in a meeting. I'd texted her afterward. Surgery went well. Home in a few days. She'd replied, "Glad you're okay." That was it. I'd called her yesterday when the hospital said I was being discharged. It rang once, then went to voicemail. I'd called again. Same thing. That's when I knew she'd blocked me. The next morning, Mrs. Chen arrived at 8 a.m. with breakfast. Scrambled eggs, whole wheat toast, fresh berries, coffee. She was a Taiwanese woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and gentle hands. "Doctor, Morrison says you need protein for healing," she said, setting the tray down. "Eat everything. This is too much food for one person," I said. "Then you eat half now, half at lunch," she said. "I come back at noon to check your incision. Make sure you take medicine on time." After she left, I sat at the kitchen table and cried. Not because I was sad, because for the first time in 3 years, someone was taking care of me, and I'd forgotten what that felt like. Doctor Morrison came by that evening after her shift. She'd changed out of her scrubs into jeans and a sweater. She looked exhausted. "How are you feeling?" she asked, sitting across from me at the kitchen table. "Sore, tired, guilty." "Guilty about what?" "About taking your charity." "It's not charity," she said. "It's a debt. I owe you my entire career. Do you know where I am now because of what you did?" I shook my head. "I'm the head of cardiac surgery at Vancouver General. I perform over 200 surgeries a year. I've trained 40 residents. I've published research that's changed protocols across Canada. And none of that happens if I drop out of medical school in first year, which I was about to do before you gave me that envelope." She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. A young woman in medical school, graduation robes, beaming, holding a diploma. "That's me in 1994, she said. "The first person in my family to finish university. My parents were refugees from Vietnam. They worked in a fish processing plant in Richmond. They didn't understand why I wanted to be a doctor. They thought I should get married, have kids, work at a bank maybe. They didn't come to my graduation." She swiped to another photo. An older Asian couple standing with Dr. Morrison in front of a new house. "That's them 15 years later, she said, "after I bought them a house and retired them. After I proved that their daughter could do something they never thought possible. You gave me the courage to keep going when I thought I didn't belong. So no, Mr. Hartley, this isn't charity. This is the very least I owe you." I looked at the photos, then at her. "Call me William," I said quietly. "Okay, William. Then you call me Patricia." Over the next 2 weeks, I fell into a routine. Mrs. Chen came twice a day. Patricia stopped by most evenings after work. I did my cardiac rehab exercises, walked slowly around the garden, read books from Patricia's library. My chest hurt less every day. My strength came back gradually, but my phone stayed silent. I'd look at Rachel's contact photo sometimes, her and the kids at the beach last summer, before everything fell apart completely. Emma was missing her 2 front teeth. Jacob was holding a crab. Rachel was laughing. I wanted to call, but she'd blocked me, and maybe I deserved it. 3 weeks after I moved into the guest house, Patricia came over with takeout sushi and a bottle of sake. "We're celebrating," she said. "What are we celebrating?" "Your echo came back perfect. Your cardiologist says you're healing beautifully." And I had a thought. I looked at her suspiciously. What kind of thought? She poured 2 small cups of sake. "Your daughter, Rachel, right?" My stomach tightened. "What about her?" "You need to fix that. She doesn't want to talk to me." "Have you tried?" "She blocked my number." Patricia nodded. "Okay, so you can't call, but you can write. You can show up. You can try." "She made her choice," I said. "Did she? Or did you make it for her by giving up?" I stared at the sake cup. "I don't know how to fix it. I was a terrible father after Linda died. Hell, I was a mediocre father before that. I worked nights, slept days. I missed school events. I missed dance recitals. I was physically there but never really present." "So tell her that," Patricia said. "Apologize. Not because you expect forgiveness, but because she deserves to hear it. I drank the sake in one swallow. It burned. I'll think about it, I said. 2 days later, Mrs. Chen arrived at breakfast, looking troubled. What's wrong? I asked. She hesitated, then sat down across from me. I have question. Is not my business, but I worry. What is it? You have daughter, yes, Rachel? My chest went cold. How do you know my daughter's name? Dr. Morrison asked me to find her contact information. I find address, phone number, email. Dr. Morrison wants to talk to her. No, I said immediately. Absolutely not. Patricia can't contact Rachel. Why not? Because this is my mess. I have to fix it. Or not fix it. But it's mine. Mrs. Chen studied me for a long moment. Okay, she said finally. I tell Dr. Morrison you say no. But that night, when Patricia came by, she didn't mention Rachel at all. Instead, she said, I have a proposal. I'm listening. I need help, she said. I run a charity, the Morrison Foundation. We provide medical school scholarships to students from low-income families, kids like I was. We give them money for tuition, books, living expenses, but we also give them mentorship, support, community. That's wonderful, I said. But I don't see what this has to do with me. I want you to work for the foundation, Patricia said. Part-time, 20 hours a week. You'd help review scholarship applications, meet with students, provide guidance. Essentially, do for others what you did for me. I laughed. Patricia, I'm a retired janitor with a grade 11 education. What guidance could I possibly give medical students? The most important kind, she said. You'd remind them why they're doing this. You'd tell them that where they come from doesn't define where they can go. You'd be living proof that one person's kindness can change everything. I don't know anything about running a foundation. You don't have to. I have staff for that. I just need you to be you. Talk to students. Share your story. Help me pick recipients who need more than just money. She paused. The job pays $40,000 a year. I stared at her. You want to pay me $40,000 to talk to students? I want to pay you a fair salary for meaningful work. Think about it. I thought about it for exactly 10 seconds. When do I start? Monday. But there's one condition. What condition? Patricia looked at me seriously. You have to try to fix things with Rachel. I'll help however I can, but you have to try. I knew this was a setup. I knew Patricia was manipulating me into facing something I'd been avoiding. But I also knew she was right. Okay, I said. I'll try. That weekend, I wrote Rachel a letter. I went through 11 drafts. Mrs. Chen helped me with the 12th. It was 2 pages long. I apologized for everything. For not being there after Linda died. For pushing her away. For missing Emma's birthday. For not being the father or grandfather she and the kids deserved. I didn't make excuses. I didn't ask for anything. I just said I was sorry, and I loved her, and I understood if she couldn't forgive me. I put the letter in an envelope and walked to the mailbox at the end of Patricia's street. My chest ached from the walk, but I made it. I stood there for 5 minutes, holding the envelope, before finally dropping it in. Then I went back to the guest house and waited. On Monday, I started at the Morrison Foundation. The office was in downtown Vancouver, a small suite with 3 staff members. There were files everywhere, applications from hundreds of students, photos on the walls of past scholarship recipients, now doctors, nurses, researchers. My job was simpler than I'd expected. I read applications, I met with students, I asked them questions. Why medicine? What's your biggest fear? Who helped you get here? The answers broke my heart and rebuilt it every single day. There was Navdeep, a 19-year-old whose parents owned a convenience store in East Vancouver. He'd studied while working the night shift, slept 4 hours a day, graduated high school with a 97% average. He cried when we told him he'd received a full scholarship. There was Maria, whose family had fled Guatemala when she was 6. She'd learned English in elementary school, worked as a translator for her parents, dreamed of being a pediatrician. She said, I want to help kids who feel invisible like I did. There was James, a First Nation student from a reserve in northern BC. He'd lost 3 cousins to suicide. He wanted to be a psychiatrist, go back to his community, save others. I met with 12 students in my first month. I helped choose 8 scholarship recipients, and every single time I shook their hands and said, Congratulations. I thought about Patricia crying in that lab 36 years ago, and how I'd almost walked past her. Small kindnesses echo forever. That's what I was learning. But Rachel didn't respond to my letter. 2 weeks passed. Then 3. Then a month. Patricia kept asking if I'd heard anything. I kept saying no. She kept encouraging me to try again. I kept saying I didn't want to push. The truth was, I was terrified. I'd laid myself bare in that letter. If Rachel ignored it, that was an answer, a final one. Then one afternoon in late November, I was at the foundation office when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Dad? I froze. Rachel's voice. I hadn't heard it in months. Rachel, I said, my voice cracking. I got your letter, she said. She didn't sound angry. She sounded tired. Can we talk? Of course. Anytime. Where are you? I'm outside the address you put on the letter. In Carrisdale. Is this really where you're living? I looked at my watch. It was 3 p.m. I could be there in 30 minutes if I took a taxi. Stay there, I said. I'm coming. When I arrived, Rachel was sitting in her Honda Civic in Patricia's driveway. I paid the taxi driver and walked over slowly. She got out of the car. She looked exactly like Linda. Same dark hair, same green eyes, same expression she'd get when she was trying not to cry. Hi, Dad, she said. Hi, sweetheart. We stood there awkwardly for a moment. Then Rachel said, Can we go inside? I want to see where you've been living. I showed her the guest house. She walked through every room, not saying anything, just looking. Finally, she sat down on the couch in the living room and said, This is nicer than my house. It's temporary, I said quickly. I'm not staying here forever. Who's Patricia Morrison? I told her everything. The envelope in 1989, the surgery, Patricia finding me outside the hospital, the guest house, the foundation job, all of it. Rachel listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, You gave a stranger $300 when I was a baby? Yes. Mom must have been furious. She was. Rachel laughed. But it wasn't a happy sound. That's so you, Dad. Giving away money we didn't have to someone you barely knew. I know it was stupid. It wasn't stupid, Rachel said. It was kind. You were always kind to everyone except yourself. And maybe except us. That hit like a punch to the chest. You're right, I said. I was so busy trying to help other people that I forgot to be present for my own family. I'm sorry, Rachel. I'm so sorry. Rachel wiped her eyes. I blocked your number because I was angry. You kept saying you were fine, but you weren't fine. You were drowning, and you wouldn't let me help you. After Mom died, I tried everything. I called, I visited, I brought the kids over, and you just disappeared. You were physically there, but you were gone. I know. And then when you went in for surgery, you texted me like it was nothing. Surgery went well, like you didn't almost die. Like I wouldn't care if you did. I felt tears running down my face. I didn't want to be a burden. You're my father, Rachel said, her voice breaking. You're not a burden. You're supposed to let me be there for you. That's what family does. We both cried then. Loud, messy, years overdue crying. Finally, Rachel said, Brett and I are having problems. I looked up, surprised. What kind of problems? The kind where he thinks money solves everything, she said bitterly. He got promoted last year, big salary, and suddenly everything's about status. The right neighborhood, the right schools for the kids, the right car. He didn't want me to come see you because he was embarrassed that you lived in a one-bedroom apartment in Surrey and worked part-time at Canadian Tire. Anger flared in my chest. He said that? Not in those words, but yeah. He said you'd made bad choices your whole life, and he didn't want the kids picking up your lack of ambition. She air-quoted the last part. Brett's an idiot, I said. Rachel laughed through her tears. Yeah, he is. Do the kids know I was sick? She shook her head. I didn't tell them. I don't know what I thought. That protecting them from your absence was easier than explaining why their grandfather didn't want to see them anymore. I always wanted to see them, I said fiercely. I just didn't think I deserved to. Rachel grabbed my hand. Dad, listen to me. You made mistakes. So did I. But we're family. That doesn't go away just because things get hard. We talked for 3 hours. She told me about Emma's anxiety, how she'd started having panic attacks at school. She told me about Jacob's obsession with dinosaurs, how he'd memorized every species. She told me about her job, how she hated pharmaceutical sales, but couldn't quit because Brett's income wasn't enough for their mortgage. I told her about the foundation work, about the students I'd met, about how it felt to finally do something meaningful. When she finally stood to leave, she hugged me tightly. "Can I come back next week? With the kids? Please," I said. After she left, I sat in the guest house and cried again. But this time, they were good tears. Patricia came by that evening. I told her about Rachel's visit. She smiled and said, "I'm proud of you." "For what?" "For trying. That's all we can ever do. Try to be better than we were yesterday." The next week, Rachel brought Emma and Jacob. Emma was shy at first, hiding behind her mother's legs. But Jacob ran straight to me and said, "Grandpa, do you know what a Pachycephalosaurus is?" "I have no idea," I said. "It's a dinosaur with a really thick skull." For headbutting. We spent the afternoon in Patricia's garden. Jacob showed me his dinosaur books. Emma gradually warmed up and told me about her school play. Rachel sat on the patio with Patricia, and I could see them talking seriously about something. Later, Rachel pulled me aside. "Patricia offered to pay for Emma's therapy," she said. I told her, absolutely not. But she insisted. She said the foundation has a mental health program for families of scholarship recipients, and she's expanding it. She wants Emma to be part of the pilot. "Rachel, you don't have to." I already said yes, Dad. Because Emma needs help, and I'm tired of pretending we can handle everything ourselves. Over the next 3 months, something beautiful happened. Rachel and the kids came to visit every Sunday. We'd have lunch, play in the garden, talk. Patricia often joined us. She and Rachel became friends. Emma started therapy and slowly got better. Jacob collected rocks and leaves and brought them to show me. I kept working at the foundation. I met more students. I helped choose more scholarship recipients. I started giving talks at high schools and low-income neighborhoods, telling kids about the power of kindness, about how one person can change your entire trajectory. In February, Patricia called me into her office at the foundation. She looked nervous, which was unusual for her. "I need to tell you something," she said. "I'm sick." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "Ovarian cancer. Stage 3. They found it 6 weeks ago during a routine checkup." "Patricia, no. I'm starting chemotherapy next week," she said calmly. "My prognosis is decent, 60% 5-year survival rate. But I need to get my affairs in order, just in case." I felt like I'd been punched. "What can I do?" "I need you to take over the foundation." "What?" "If something happens to me, I need someone I trust to run it. My lawyer will handle the legal stuff. But I need you to be the heart of it, to keep doing what you're doing. Meeting students, choosing recipients, being the person who sees potential in people when they can't see it themselves." "Patricia, I can't." "Yes, you can," she said firmly. "You've been doing it for months. The students love you. The staff loves you. You're exactly what this foundation needs. But the money? My estate will fund it in perpetuity," she said. "I've worked out the details with my financial advisor. The foundation will have an endowment of $15 million. That's enough to give out 40 scholarships a year forever. I'm making you the executive director. Salary is $85,000 annually." I stared at her. "Patricia, this is insane." "This is gratitude," she said. 36 years ago, you gave me $300 and told me I deserved to be a doctor. I'm giving you $15 million and telling you that you deserve to change lives. We're even." She didn't make it to 5 years. She fought hard. The chemotherapy knocked her down, but she kept getting back up. She kept working, kept doing surgeries when she could, kept showing up for the foundation. But cancer doesn't care how strong you are. Patricia died on a rainy morning in November, exactly 1 year and 3 months after I'd moved into her guest house. She was 59 years old. The funeral was packed with former students, colleagues, patients whose lives she'd saved. Rachel stood next to me, holding my hand. Emma and Jacob sat quietly, not fully understanding but knowing it was important. During the eulogy, one of Patricia's former residents said, "Dr. Morrison used to tell us that medicine isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the kindest." She lived that every single day. After the funeral, Patricia's lawyer met with me. She handed me a sealed envelope. Dr. Morrison asked me to give you this, she said. I opened it. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a handwritten note. William, it read, this is the money you should have spent on your daughter's winter coat in 1989, plus 36 years of interest. Buy Rachel and the kids something special, and keep doing what you do best. Seeing people when they feel invisible. You saved my life. Now save others. With love and gratitude. Patricia. I stood there in the rain outside the funeral home, holding that note, and sobbed. Rachel put her arm around me. What does it say? I showed her. She read it and started crying too. Dad, she said. She really loved you. I loved her too, I said. She was family. That's the thing about family. It's not always about blood. Sometimes it's about showing up. It's about seeing someone's pain and saying, I can help. It's about kindness that echoes across decades. Patricia left me her guest house in her will. She also left a smaller trust for Emma and Jacob's education. She left instructions for the foundation, scholarships named after her parents, donations to refugee organizations. But the most important thing she left was a blueprint, a way of living that said, when you have the power to help, you help. Not because you'll get something back, but because that's what good people do. I'm 68 now. I run the Morrison Foundation full-time. We've given out 160 scholarships in the 4 years since Patricia died. 60 of those students have graduated medical school. They're doctors now, scattered across Canada, doing exactly what Patricia did, saving lives and paying kindness forward. Rachel and I are close now, closer than we've ever been. She and Brett separated last year. It was hard, but necessary. She's happier now. She quit pharmaceutical sales and went back to school to become a teacher. She says she wants to help kids the way her father and Patricia helped others. Emma's anxiety is managed. She's thriving. She wants to be a writer. Jacob still loves dinosaurs, but now he also loves science. He says he wants to be a paleontologist or maybe a doctor. Like Great-Aunt Patricia, he says. That's what we call her. Great-Aunt Patricia. Last month, I gave a talk at a high school in East Vancouver. Afterward, a girl approached me. She was maybe 16, wearing a school uniform that was a little too big, carrying books that were taped together because the covers were falling off. Mr. Hartley? She said quietly. Can I ask you something? Of course. Do you really think someone like me could be a doctor? I looked at her, really looked at her. I saw myself at 16, working night shifts, thinking I'd never amount to anything. I saw Patricia at 22, crying over textbooks, ready to give up. I saw every scholarship recipient who'd ever sat across from me and asked that same question. Yes, I said. Absolutely yes. Do you know why? She shook her head. Because wanting it is half the battle. The other half is showing up every day and doing the work. And from the look of those books you're carrying, you're already doing that. Her eyes filled with tears. But medical school is so expensive. My family can't. Apply for the Morrison Foundation scholarship, I said, handing her a card. We help students exactly like you. Students who have the drive and the heart, but not the money. Apply, and if you get an interview, ask for me specifically. I'll make sure someone listens to your story. She took the card with shaking hands. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for having the courage to ask, I said. I don't know if she'll apply. I don't know if she'll become a doctor. But I know that moment mattered, because 36 years ago, a moment mattered for Patricia. And 2 years ago, a moment mattered for me. That's the thing about kindness. You never know which moment will be the one that changes everything. So you show up. You help when you can. You see people when they feel invisible. And maybe, if you're lucky, 36 years later, someone will find you standing in the rain with a walker and no way home, and they'll say, I remember you. Let me help. That's not karma. That's not fate. That's just people being good to each other. And in a world that can be cold and hard and unforgiving, that's everything. I learned something important in these last few years. It's never too late to repair what's broken. It's never too late to apologize, to show up, to try. Rachel and I lost years because I was too proud to ask for help, and she was too hurt to keep offering it. But we found our way back. The same is true for everyone. If there's someone you've lost, someone you've hurt, someone you miss, reach out. Write the letter. Make the call. Show up. It might not work. They might not forgive you. But at least you tried. At least you proved that they mattered enough to fight for. And if you're the one who's been hurt, the one who's been waiting for an apology, consider offering grace, not because the person deserves it, but because holding on to anger only hurts you. Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about freeing yourself. Finally, look for the people who are invisible. The janitor mopping floors at 2 a.m., the student crying in the library, the neighbor who hasn't left their house in weeks. See them, acknowledge them, help if you can, even in small ways. You never know who you're saving. You never know which act of kindness will echo across decades and change the entire trajectory of someone's life. I was a janitor who gave away money I couldn't afford to give. Patricia was a medical student who almost gave up. Now she's gone, but her legacy lives on in 160 doctors, in thousands of patients they've saved, in countless lives they've touched. And it all started with $300 in an envelope and a note that said, "You deserve to be here. We all deserve to be here. We all deserve kindness. We all deserve second chances. So give them freely, accept them gratefully, and never, ever underestimate the power of showing up for another human being when they need it most." That's the lesson. That's what Patricia taught me. That's what I'm teaching the next generation. And someday, maybe one of those students will stand in the rain with a stranger and say, "I remember you. Let me help." And the echo will continue forever.